Whew, the cycles. I mean, how do people find out their cycles? What do they do?
Well, I think it starts with removing yourself from the environment. You have to sit still. You have to sit still. And sometimes, listen, we do these vacations. So I'm gonna go someplace for a week. Maybe if you can go to maybe a silent retreat or somewhere quiet, right? It's not the vacation where you're doing spas and trip excursions and all of that. It's getting into a space. Maybe it's staying home. Maybe it's just staying home in your bedroom, in your kitchen, cooking meals. It's just quiet. That's just what I'm gonna say. It starts with stillness first, right? And then it's a vision towards your path out of that stillness back into activity, right? What does that routine look like, and how are you feeling around the things around you? Very, very, very hard to do, and stick with it, right? Again, it's difficult to do.
It is because I mean it's like and even if of course here like even if you have the time to do that, then you come back into this environment, you have to now shift your natural cycle to fit where you are, and so it is extremely challenging. But it just made me think of SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder, where so many people get depressed right in the winter months. We got daylight savings time. Why? That ain't normal. We changing the clocks. Like that is so not normal. And so now it's dark at 5 p.m. and you're leaving to go to work, it's dark. You're coming home and it's dark and all you see is darkness.
Darkness, yeah.
And you wonder why people like this is a time where you should just be chilling and not having to really do anything.
And your food that you eat during those times changes, right? You shouldn't be eating heavy foods in the summertime, just wintertime things, you switch it up, right?
That's another thing about the food. And I Halona, I've seen it with you, like your diet changes. Sometimes you'll post the pictures of what you're eating and all of that. Like, how has that been? Like, so I just finished watching this diet documentary on Netflix called Poison, and I don't even know why I watched it because all they did was
I didn't watch it.
It just pissed me off because it didn't really tell me anything that I didn't already know, but two, it offered absolutely no solutions. So it's like your food is jacked up. It's crap. This is what's happening. These are, the law. These are all the people who have died from, salmonella and all of these things. This is how, a lot of these major corporations have kept these factories, right, with all, doing all things wrong, totally saying that they're in compliance and they're not, falsifying information, all of that. Congress can't seem to do nothing about it. The FDA ain't doing nothing. The USDA, you got all these organizations, they only have one aspect and they'll say, I'm not responsible for this part and I'm not responsible for that part. So meanwhile, we still have our food is being poisoned and there's nothing we can do.
Wow.
I was like, well, thank you for that.
Wow.
Thank you for that. So how has that been like with your food? Like how different is that when you're in other countries?
Oh man, it's night and day. I mean, there's not even a comparison. I mean, I just really all I do is focus on eating real fruits and vegetables. I mean, it's not, and sometimes I'll have periods where I'm doing like mostly raw foods. I may have a piece of fish here and there, every 2-3 months. But really, I just eat real fruits and vegetables, and really that's it. And when I went home a year ago, and last August, I was just really shocked at how turned off and disgusted I was at places like a Taco Bell. I was like, y'all are really online for this? Like, I couldn't understand it because it was such a turnoff. The smell is just strange. And I'm like, do you even know what's in this stuff? Like, I can't even believe that you all are even sitting around and like really excited about, eating these foods. It just doesn't make sense to me because it's not real food. It doesn't fill you up. It doesn't do anything. And I've noticed over the last 5 years that there's a difference between foods that just fill you up because we like to be able to feel like our stomachs are being filled and being nourished. Those are two totally different things. Now what I look for is foods that are that have a lot of water in it. Like I need to be, I noticed that as I get older, I need to be hydrated. Like if I haven't had enough water, either drinking actual water or having enough fruits that have water in it, or to have salads that have, water filled vegetables, I can't function. I'm just like,
Wow.
what is life? I can't do this with you all. Like I don't even like to go too far from my house because I can't go to a restaurant and be properly nourished at a restaurant. I can eat potatoes, but that's it. And potatoes, I love potatoes, but that's not nourishing. That's not what I need to be able to be creative, to be able to think, to be able to have enough energy to get up in the morning and move. All of those things are really important, especially as you get older. Like your body starts to fall apart, after a certain age if you have not taken care of it. I figured that out when I turned 40. That was the reason why I said I have to pay attention to my health, because I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't think. I couldn't be creative at all. I had way too much weight on myself. It was too much.
That's real. That is so real. My doctor told me, he said, this whole 40 is the new 30 or whatever. He was like, that ain't real. He said, if you think about it, people in the past, died at 60, 70 years old. So he's like, when you hit 40, like you're halfway. Like you're halfway. He was like, your body is designed to start breaking down. You are on your way. And I'm like, that's not the narrative, right? The narrative is like, you can be 40 and, if you're healthy, you should still be able to do some of the same things that you can do when you're 20 and 30. And that's a sign of health. But is that really the natural cycle of things, right? Like, are you meant to still do the same things that you did then? And my body's like, hell no. Hell no.
And you shouldn't. And really, you shouldn't, Downshifting, the second half of life, downshifting.
Exactly. And that, again, that is certainly not the cycle here. But yeah, no, that is absolutely real, Halona. That was one of the things that they talked about, because we look at the foods that we're eating, and I'm like, even if you want to eat real fruits and vegetables, right? Like, we still got to look at, like, is this a real fruit and vegetable? Like, we don't even know what we're getting here. So we try to eat well, and we're still failing because the food is not even our fault.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How has it been for you, Barbara, in Belize? I mean, that's always the goal to be tropical.
We buy fruits from the veggie stand, our fruits and vegetables from the veggie stand here. And there are grocers who do bring in the packaged and processed foods, but that stuff is expensive to import, right? And it's not natural. And so, most people here, a lot of people have fruit trees, vegetable trees in their yards. I mean, that's like way of life, so that's available. And, available whether you use it by choice or available because that's all you have is available, okay? Developing country. And then also, you can go into the restaurants who are also using the fresh fruits and vegetables here as well. So think about it this way: what it takes to import is costly, right? It requires refrigeration if you're talking fresh or somewhat fresh. So it only makes sense for restaurants and establishments to use what's grown here locally. And so usually when you're going out to eat here, you're getting better quality food than you might on a regular basis in the States. Fast food, the chains don't exist here like they do in the States. There's no McDonald's, there's no KFC, no Popeyes, no corner bakery cafes, no Chipotle's, no. Mid-level fast food is what I think that's called, so fast food here is tacos and burritos, but I guarantee you some woman got up that morning to make those tortillas fresh from, little flour, baking soda, whatever. It wasn't mass produced. and including lots of preservatives and stuff, and that's off the streets here. And so even if you're eating rice and beans regularly, which is not always the healthiest choice, you're still getting the best rice and beans, here. So being in this lifestyle here is definitely a little easier to stay away from the less healthy and more harmful stuff. It just doesn't exist here, but you still also have to be responsible for your own eating, at the end of the day, right? So it's just the choices, I can't get McDonald's if I wanted to. Closest McDonald's is Chatham Mall.
That helps.
I gotta go.
Especially if you have a McDonald's addiction, you can't get it.
So you're gonna do something a little healthier, at the same time, fat sodas and beer and alcohol is still very prevalent, around. So people still have that to contend with. Yeah. But less choices.
But it's different when you have a balance as well. Because like you said, right, you might not get it all right. Like, there's going to be cycles of things. And so even if you're consuming those things, if you're eating better, there's still a bit of a balance versus it all just being bad.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference. Jessica, welcome.
Yes, I have been listening to this amazing conversation unfold, and I'm just loving everything that you all have been talking about. I definitely have a couple of questions for Halona, who has been, I feel like you were like one of the first people we talked to.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I can't deal with it no more. So what are the changes that you've seen over the years? Are you seeing more Black women coming? Are you seeing less Black women? What are some of the differences that you've experienced since you've been like one of the ones that have been gone for like the longest? Well, that we know of.
Yeah, there's definitely way more interest, way more people who are showing up. I get hit in my DMs all the time from people who've listened to you all show. I'm like, this was a long time ago, y'all.
Listen, YouTube is forever. Okay, that's the beauty of content. It stays there forever. So
it stays forever. And people are like, I don't know where you are in the world right now, but girl, I'm trying to get out of here. Can you help me? And I'll point people towards different resources. When people actually come to the country that I'm in, I'm willing to meet with people, for lunch and, help people with resources and all sorts of other things. But yeah, it's really beautiful. I love it. I love seeing all of these Black women who are just like, I'm done. I'm done trying to take care of everybody else. And, maybe they get to a point where like my kids are finally grown. They just left for college and I'm ready to go. Like, let's get this together. What do I need to do first? So that's really, it's a beautiful thing to be able to see.
Wow.
Well, I'm excited to hear that a lot of women are listening and going, okay, I think I can do this. And then reaching out and having the wherewithal to go, okay, I'm actually going to DM her and ask her how she did this or if she can help me do this. Barba, are you experiencing kind of that same thing? I don't know how long have you been gone exactly? How many years?
Almost 5 years. And definitely I'm experiencing and seeing an uptick. And it's been really, really nice, right? When I first came here, I did feel somewhat alone in that space. Like, where are my sisters? And I found a couple of communities internationally. And maybe for the first year and a half that I was here, my trusted advisor, sister friends were abroad. They weren't even here in Belize. They were other Black women who had left the States and gone other places. But since then, spaces like Black Women Leave America, and even I had a retreat group. I have several retreat groups on Facebook of several hundred people in it. That conversation space about what am I doing here and what are the people I'm meeting doing here, I think has been very encouraging to other Black women. I have an amazing story to tell in this way. Like my best friends have moved here. Like my true best friends. Like my best friend that I met when I was 18 in college, literally just got off the plane yesterday. I can't tell you how excited that I am.
That is so dope.
And I have another colleague who I worked with for like 25 years who moved here 2 years ago. And then just seeing the network. So they come and visit, spend time, feel the energy, downshift a little bit, go back and then think about their circumstances and like, maybe Can I? Yes, you can. You can. You can do it any way you want to do it, right? Just, architect it for you. And so now I'm seeing a lot of people, even down here in Placencia, where, it's a small village of 2,000 people. It's a couple dozen of us here now, so it's nice.
I love that. Look at you bringing folks over.
I don't know about you guys, but wherever I go, and I'm imagining that I'll probably do this abroad as well, because I think I'm just trained at this point, but I'm always looking for like the Black women or Black people, right? Like anywhere that I go, like,
No,
where are they? Hey! So that's why I asked, because I know that that's kind of a thing for me wherever I go, especially in the States. I am like, okay, where are they? Okay, there you are. Hey, how are you doing? You okay? You good? And we talked a little bit before we started the live stream about just some of the things, we don't want to paint this just as all rosy and beautiful as well, right? What are some of the negatives or things that you've come up across? I know, Barbara, you were mentioning that there were some things that you were experiencing that you were like, okay, here's some obstacles that I need to overcome. So what are those exactly?
Yeah, I got sick here in Belize twice, and both times I had to leave the country to get medical coverage or medical care. Right, I ended up having to have surgery in one of those instances, and so I think that the challenge is just kind of knowing. And having a plan for yourself and your wellness journey. I didn't plan on getting sick. I didn't know that I had remnants of past illnesses just waiting to fester up one random day. So I think that's the biggest challenge it's been for me is like, what does that look like? And so I had to make some wellness choices. I couldn't do the things that I was doing before, which were not real self-care, which we talked about early in this conversation. I did all the things self-care. So that's kind of really was that challenge. All the other things that I've been faced with were things that I probably would have faced with had I moved from Detroit to Florida or New York to Georgia or whatever. And, and that's finding your tribe, finding, living in what part of town is going to be best for you, getting a sense of the vibe of the community and the energy of the regular locals, right? Because you meet different people and you assimilate different ways. And so that also has kind of impacted the wellness journey too. My community here is much different than my community looks like at home, And so just being ready for that newness, a lot of times we stick in the same place. We live in the same metropolitan area our whole lives. That's not unusual, by the way. Many people, die on the same, corner block radius that they grew up on. But to grow, we have to leave those spaces. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is that's part of the growth thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so incredibly true. And I think that's a good point that you said that, like those challenges are things that you would have experienced if you moved from one state to another. Even if it's not one state, like I moved in the same state, but there's still challenges. Same thing, like where am I going to go now, to go to the grocery store, or, same thing, finding people here, because even though I'm in the same state, it's still a different place. It's a different energy. It's just a whole different vibe. So there are changes that are going to have to be navigated. Yeah. So I like how you said that, because I think a lot of people would look at that as an obstacle and think that maybe I'm not ready for that. But any change is, that's going to be a part of it. Yeah, I think that's good. What about you, Halona?
Challenges, I would say finding community. And it's not so much about finding other Black people or Black women to be able to hang around with, especially now, because, we're sort of everywhere. It's the finding people that I can be open and honest about the changes that I've experienced over the last 5 years, because I'm finding that a lot of people fall into that surface wellness when they come abroad, because I don't think that they have people to be able to support them on their journey. They just sort of show up and they're just like, I'm here. And, they think that just because they've arrived, they're in the space, that the change will just happen.
Yeah. Because they're coming with the same mindset.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's just really sort of difficult to find people to be able to make sincere friendships with people who actually are doing the work, are interested in doing the work, um, and are sincerely interested in making the change beyond just, the 3 day smoothie diet.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's wrong with any of that stuff, doing the keto and all that other stuff, but there's just so much more. But if you don't have the proper guidance, it's really difficult to be able to get into that. Like, I don't think I could have been able to do it if I had just done it by myself. I'm successful. I feel successful because I've had people who have helped me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was a mouthful. Asking for help and asking for help from professionals who can actually
Right.
help you, not from your mama, your sister,
Right.
your friends who like is there in the same space as you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole conversation. Jessica, did you have any more questions? Because I know you like, oh, I got questions.
No, I think what I've been doing is kind of going through some of the questions that we've gotten on comments that we've gotten on YouTube from some of you all's different episodes and things to that effect, and trying to pull through some of the questions. That I want to read one comment specifically. Is like, for me, I want to leave the US so I can maximize my income potential without having to worry about paying outrageous amounts of money for basic things. And I don't like driving. I also want to expand my mind because it feels so trapped here in terms of how I'm supposed to be a Black woman. I just want more opportunities and not to have to be tied to anything or stigmas. I want to try something new. What advice would you give to someone like that, right? Because I was listening to a conversation not too long ago where someone was saying, or it might have been our conversation actually. If you think you're just going to come to Mexico or wherever and pay, $200, $300 a month and be good, you're gonna be good, but it's not going to be the living standard that you're looking for, right? Right now, we're seeing a lot of the memes and things go around
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you
Shakira
only
said
pay
that.
$100 a
Yeah,
month.
you can backpack, you can do all of that, but that may not be the lifestyle that you want to live. But you can,
Right.
but is that what you want? Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
she's talking about maximizing her income potential without having to worry about paying outrageous amounts of money for basic things. Do you find that that's your experience, or do you find that that's kind of cap? Like people are just saying that, but it's not really true.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I started my journey off in Southeast Asia just because I wasn't making a lot, a ton of money at the beginning of this. I was probably making $1,200 in a month was a good, that was a good month for me at the time.
And that's rent.
Yeah, and my rent was $250. The most I paid in a luxury apartment was $350. It had a little kitchen and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, I mean, I try to tell people to figure out your money before you leave. Like, you need to be able to have some sort of income before you leave, because you need to be able to know what are the processes to be able to keep your business going, or whether you're doing a remote part-time job or whatever it is that you want to be able to do. But yeah, you can find you can find places in the world where your cost of living is going to be cheaper, but you also have to understand what type of living do you want. I think you can get a very high level of living in Southeast Asia, but everybody doesn't want to go that far. Everyone doesn't want to be a Black person in Asia. I get all of that. When people come to Africa, they think that they're going to get this super cheap life, $300 rent. In my opinion, Rwanda in particular, can be very expensive. Like, I have an apartment, it's beautiful, I get a lot for it, but I'm paying $800 a month. And I know for a lot of people who are coming here, they're like, $800 is way too much. So then they wind up going to, a more, I'll put in air quotes, a local neighborhood where they may be paying $350, but you have to deal with, local issues. Like, maybe the landlord may not be all that accessible, or maybe you might have to have a bug problem, all sorts of other stuff. So you're going to have to pay a little bit more to be able to get to a spot that's going to be comfortable, for you. So you're just going to have to sort of figure out what it is that you want, How much money do you have to spend? And what sort of level of living? Because you can go to the village and be fine. You can build yourself a little spot in the village, and you can have some access to some modern things like internet and all sorts of other things. But who are you going to talk to once you get out there? You don't speak the local language.
Helena, you gotta speak to us because we ain't been there. So when you say village, are you saying like a hut? Like what?
No, not a hut. Not a hut. You can
Cabana.
find a spot, but it's raw land where you're going to be. You can build, a little house with all the modern amenities if you want to do that. But there's nothing in the area for you to be able to get to, for you to be able to communicate with other people who might live in the capital city. And of course, this totally depends on what city you're staying in. But the way a lot of African countries tend to work is there's the capital city, and then there might be a few minor cities that might be quite far from the capital city itself. But in between, there may be some places where you can go, but not a lot of people are going to be able to speak English. People have different education levels, and that's an adjustment if you've never been to Africa before. All of that it's an adjustment. I'm not saying you can't do it, and people certainly do it, but they've chosen to do it, and they're enjoying it. And then there are other people who get here and they're like, oh, no, thank you.
Yeah,
they have to go. So you got to know what
this. But let me just say, $800 is still significantly cheaper. Oh. So I would gladly pay $800.
It was a jump from that $350 that I was paying in Asia. I was like, oh, this is great. And then you get here and you're like, oh, wait, I got to pay $800. People are certainly paying more. People are paying $1,200 and $1,500 a month for their rent. Yeah. So it all depends.
But even that, coming from a place where I'm paying $2,800, you're like, yeah, I can do that. Right. So I want to get back to some of the comments here, because there was one in particular. I would like, Barbara, you're for some reason like, girl. Now you don't say that you don't do this technology thing, but I'm gonna tell you right now, you probably want to look into it.
Okay. I get you.
Your episode.
I was like, if they don't stop asking me questions about Barbara, I can't answer this. I don't know.
So I'm just
like, how can I find you? How can I find you? I'm like, I don't know. Come here.
I would love to meet Barbara for more questions. Listen, so someone said this is a month ago, but we catching up to y'all. Sorry.
Yeah.
Listen, I could cry right now if this is the same lady in 2017 when I was in Belize. We exchanged numbers, but I've changed my phone number a few times and lost it. I can't remember if her name was Barbara, but it sounds the same. I fell in love and planned to go back around 2020, then COVID. I recently started looking into moving to Belize again, and research brought me here. Either way, I would love to connect with Miss Barbara. How can I connect with her? Like 4 or 5 people said, how can they connect with you?
Wow, that's fantastic.
Some folks wanted your ebook. Love this episode. How to contact Barbara. I would love to get her ebook. So definitely something you should look at.
I do have a website. I'm not totally technology retarded. I do have a website. It's sheretreats.life, and you can contact me there for relocation and retirement consultations. I mean, I just chat with people. It's not, big deal. So that's a way. Belize Balanced Lifestyle on Facebook is also a way. You might just see me strolling down the sidewalk in Placencia. It's a small village. We have villages and towns here also. So it's not hard to find me. I kind of take that for granted that I've switched, right? So in the States, you cannot find me. You cannot find me in the States, right? The big world of technology, all of the people. But when you come here, you can probably ask a couple people, maybe by your third person.
I love that.
You could probably figure out how to find me. It's not hard. It's a small community. So that's my preferred lifestyle now, right? So that's part of my wellness, part of my me striving for more of a digital detox. I also went to India in December for some learning and teaching, and I had a chance to sit with Avijah, which is an Indian doctor, and I have eye challenges, and he told me straight up, put the cell phone down, get off of the computer completely. That's like when he looked in my eyes, like completely. So I know that that's something I need to do eventually for myself. So I slowly but surely, I don't do email. So forgive me if people email me. I'm going to go check it maybe about once a week. So it takes a while, but I do have one. SheRetreats.life is the website. You can find me there. And I'm happy to talk to people about their journey, particularly how can they get to Belize, because Belize is not for the faint of heart. I'm gonna just be real with people. You can make it what you want, but because it's so different than the US, you really need to know what you're getting into, right? That's just it. Yeah.
That's real. I mean, what I love about, you know, what you said, like I check my email once a week. OMG. If I did that, my email would explode. Like I don't even know how that's possible.
I stay connected to Facebook Messenger because that's a little lighter and more fun, and WhatsApp. But those are like really too. WhatsApp, you can send documents, you can do just about everything. And so I'm just like, I don't want to be sitting here using so much brain power, because for me that was my area that ended up being the weakness, you know, just brain, you know, and all of that. So now I'm trying to use a little less of it. That sounds terrible.
I was going to say, Halona, are you the same, or is it once a week for you, or is it more?
Well, I mean, I have to be on the computer every day, but I do notice I didn't have eyeglasses until I went to Cambodia. So yeah, I realize how much the computer is killing my eyesight, just because I have to be on the computer all the time to be able to run my business. And that's the part of the reason why I want to be able to have 3 months of nothing but other creative activities that don't involve the computer. Because if I don't take care of it, I'm going to be, 60, 70 years old and can't see nothing. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, I can't say that it's my career that's killing me. I have to make decisions and to be able to rearrange my life so that I can put myself as a priority. My eyesight is important.
And to me, like that's the epitome of, you're being well, right, and being healthy. It's not so much, you don't have any problems, or right, like you're eating all the right foods, and you're mentally sound, spiritually, emotionally. That it's not so much that, but it's so much, like you said, like I can rearrange my life and my schedule to fit my needs. And that's really what like self-care is about. I talk about soulful self-care versus superficial self-care, right? Because what we've been talking about is like the surface stuff. I'm gonna drink some green smoothies and that's gonna solve all my problems. But when you recognize, you know what, I'm on the computer too much, I can just not be on the computer as much and still get things done. That right there is self-care.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think, I hope what, our viewers are recognizing is that there are different ways to, define health. There's different ways to define self-care outside of the traditional or, or sort of the stereotypical ways that we would necessarily think about. And you can look at your own lives and say like, wow, what are some of the shifts that I really need to change? Like, what are my natural cycles? Like, what are some of the things that I can do? Yes, you might still be living wherever you are, and not saying that you have to move to do that, but what are some of the things that you can take away from this and the changes that you can make right now wherever you are?
Yeah. I'm going to say to that this doesn't sound like it has to do with wellness, but it does. And that is really setting some values-based goals for yourself. And so a lot of times when we set out on our path in life, it's all the things in front of us that somebody else said we want to be or want to do. And then we start and we never look back to why we're doing these things. So I want to be a fireman. I want to be a lawyer. I want to work on Capitol Hill. I want to do all of these things, right? But why? What are our values? In life, do we value quality time? Do we value being on the go? Do we value learning, do we value religion and space and time, right? And then setting some goals based on those values, not based on what everyone else is telling you to do. And if you can stay on track with that, then you're less likely to become sick in the first place. And I'm just going to say that that means that you're operating in a soulful way, in a heartfelt way in your day to day, right? And that's really where I'm at now here in Belize. I had to completely remove myself because I had already spent 40 years on that path. So I had to just, back it up and peel the layers of the onion. But I'm going to say, if you can start with that goals piece, and then work from there and figuring out that wellness journey, you'll have more stick-to-itiveness, right? It won't be the forces from everyone else won't be pushing on you so much. Yeah.